All right, everybody. What is this? The seventh installment? I think I said last time it was my fifth, but I think it was the sixth. So this time is the seventh, I believe, or something like that. You know what I mean? But one of them was kind of like I just didn't really read anything, but I gave my thoughts about it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that counts as a reading or installment, but anyways, we're here. 6-7. And if you don't get that, then it's totally okay. But yeah, I had a thought last time that I think kind of got overwhelmed by all my other thoughts. It was kind of just like this idea of school. It was almost just like you couldn't be really anything other than you were, and it was just like all these people were, basically fulfilling these roles kind of thing, but it was almost like I feel like they were calling a group of people sort of themselves without realizing that they were referring to themselves almost. And it was just like this whole idea of somebody getting to go to war, but realistically, what are they doing? Probably just going to work, you know what I mean? Like, what is war but ultimate competition, like extreme competition, you know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds of wars, and some forms are much more subtle than others, but I think war is definitely present in work, realistically. Maybe it's more subtle, but I still think that the sight of the step that leads to that next sort of conflict is certainly present. The work is sort of like the square almost. I feel like it's like the progression through a phase without any emotion, and that's why I view a circle as much more of a an idea that's full of emotion. But in reality, you're never going to get anywhere if you don't either commit to one or the other. The foot is almost like a square kind of thing. It's like a level. It's that right angle, to be able to take us places. And our head is sort of like a round. It's going back to that whole idea the other day where I talked about a point of inflection, and being able to go around, but then also kind of hold. But again, if you're afraid of expressing yourself, then you'll never get anywhere. And that's probably as much as anything can ever do. And it was just like, without even realizing it, they sort of cast themselves, into this lot of admiring everything outside, almost is what it makes me feel like. It's like they just admired everything outside, but they couldn't almost be further from it, sort of thing. And it was just like, you guys really know, what you're like? It's like, do you guys really have mirrors yet? You know what I mean? Like, maybe not. Because if you guys could sort of see yourselves, kind of thing, a little bit of that, I feel like going on kind of, is what I felt the other day when I was reading, that, and I just sort of kind of muddled over it with all the other sort of thoughts that were in my head at that time that I wanted to sound check. And you want to know also isn't limited to much boundaries is accidents. And accidents are almost like a humor, to be honest. Balance of accidents. This is definitely sort of like some antimony to the humors. So yeah, we left off with him sort of teaching Alexander, but then Alexander sort of takes all of his own, viewpoints on a lot of things or whatever. And they were going to like celebrate a wedding, and then King Philip gets killed. And then so Alexander ascends to the throne and then immediately takes action to like quell a few rebellions, and then automatically kind of starts his campaigns against Asia. That's what they say. And Aristotle goes and sets up a new school with some donations from Alexander. Still don't get along with the Spartans right now, but yeah, I feel like I'm kind of focused a lot more on yesterday just because it seems like there was almost much more stillness there. It seems like all the people have taken their mark, so to speak, and it's like the act is about to play itself out. And the time for decision is almost sort of surrendered, with everybody sort of taking sides. But I can't help but ponder more about Aristotle's whole saying that he said to Alexander, at least in this novel, was, my saying about Alexander almost being more of a materialist kind of thing. And I had a thought about this the other day too. It's just like, when you're a student of somebody, you just literally, to be able to withstand their word almost and their air, their atmosphere, you got to figure out what you can hold on to. It's like, that's like a line of order of some sense where it's like everything that grows up in the shadow of another thing has to learn what it is that's almost solid by their nature in that place so that they can take hold and be able to stand sort of the history of another character. But Aristotle says to Alexander in this, because Alexander's like, I don't think that they're like lesser people. I just think that it's like they don't have the same opportunities that we've had or whatever, kind of thing. And he says, and here he goes on to basically, formulate a sort of republic built on ideas such as that. But then Aristotle says, remember, as the saying goes, anything that isn't Greek is barbarian. You know what I mean? And it almost like plays itself out right there. Like, Um, you know, how real are these characters, kind of thing. It's like, reminds me of some people that you might hear about, you know what I mean? Of just like, how was that even their life? You know, considering all of what can happen within the span of a lifetime and before and whatever. It's like, how is that even, you know, is somebody's life capable of being just so pleasant? You know, and I certainly know a few people in my life that I feel kind of like that. But I've talked with people about it, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, you don't need to try and harm innocence. Like, you can sort of dissipate all that. I think knowledge itself can sort of allow you to dissipate if you just really, you know, put your nose to it, kind of thing. I think that if you really study, just with the general sense of trying to understand, then I think that you can learn to sort of dispose of those harmful feelings, you know, and you can let things sort of be in their world, you know. And that's a battle that a lot of people have on a daily basis, is you know, feeling like other people are more privileged or whatever else. Like, don't ever feel that way about anybody else. Like, if you're feeling that way about anybody else, like, you need to take it upon yourself to study harder and to work harder. I think with some sweat and maybe with a little bit of that's a big bird. Just enjoying the wind. I even have to flap one bit. It just has a span up. You know? Give yourself some determination somehow. And basically sort of force focus. But I feel like there was another play though, and I just want to like see if I can't word out exactly how it feels, because I feel like it's, you know, just one more sort of sleight of hand maneuver mechanism, you know, that's being shown, kind of thing. But it's like, you know, it's like, I caught it. You know, like, don't worry, I got you. Even though you're doing stuff that's kind of scary, like, I can still see what you're doing. You know, I witness to an extent, right? Like, I witnessed it, bro. Even though it's like everything in the world has to do a sense of normalcy. The only way you can almost create a sense of vast differences among things is with distance, which even allows the most radical of things to be taken in a very light manner. just something that is basically so far away that you know, it is just like media, you know, just a vision. What does it mean? Like a dream. And for a moment, I could like sort of feel a spin-off moment there for a second. I want to be careful about how I approach this. It's almost like they're playing citizens, you know what I mean? Like, human nature improves through education, but neither women nor slaves nor barbarians can enjoy its benefits. That is why it is said that barbarians are inferior to Greeks. Don't forget the ancient saying, anything that's not Greek is barbarian. Thunderclap. Demosthenes. found it. Men, citizens, 50,000. Women and children, 52,000. Metics, 20,000. Slaves, 128,000. Maybe it's simpler even than what I'm thinking. I know it had to do with somebody going to working in the field, kind of thing. And if Alexander was excited about going to work in the field, and I feel like that expression works along many lines. To philosophize or to question, perhaps even. Then what are philosophers excited to do? And what is its mean, median, and mode, or virtue? If everything's Greek but you. It really is just a test of memory. And if I could repeat every single word exactly the way that it was stated yesterday, then I'm sure I would say today that I've heard enough. Even, I could say. I don't want to just sit off and believe I can see it. I do not think that what I am looking for is on me this time. Everybody just playing their roles. And everybody has a role to play. think they were just creating their own roles, really, without being able to discern that perhaps they were masters. I think that's ultimately what it was, is just that they were creating their own roles. And something about it just felt a little like there could be something gleaned from that a little bit. I don't think I necessarily had a problem with it. It was just something that I wanted to show. I think that by Greeks, I was associating that with this idea of basically being above the world. And it was that they were creating a sort of loop in the system. Where being Greek is what you're supposed to be. But if scholars only produce scholars, it was almost like, what was being Greek? What was Greek? Is the system born? Is it a self-reciprocating system that you're born into? But then, is it by any works outside of this system? Meaning, do you have any worth outside of your own system? Then do you really know the truth? This feels great out here. Honestly, this feeling is probably what's getting me more than anything. Just this intense sun, just being in such solitary peace. The wind is amazing. It feels great with my hair. And this shirt is basically just perfect for this weather as well. And my skin is basically attuned for this environment, having been exposed all season long. Could be just as much that as anything. But I think more than anything, you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm just hitting it with a numb. It's like I'm beating it with a hammer. You know what I mean? Like, I've beaten it dead, basically, with the hammer right there. Just sort of being able to say that. And it sort of touches upon some things that I've wondered about, you know, in my meanderings of the world, which is just like, you know, if you can really only do one thing, are you really that good? Maybe if you can only call yourself one thing, are you really that good? And I know I associate it with like work and skills and just that idea of where the system is basically built on these roles kind of thing. If I'm to try and make this personal, to try and overcome this feat of yesterday, you know, which is always something that I'm having to deal with, you know, the challenge of continually rising from where I was just yesterday, basically. Do you really know that much? If you just do one thing every day. I feel that statement right there can contend with a lot of people in this world. funny squirrel that keeps like running out on the edge of this rock and just like standing up on the top of it on a kind of cliff. It's kind of funny. Season's changing, guys. It's gonna be getting really cold here pretty soon. I can already tell the weather's starting to shift and the sun is starting to change its position pretty quickly. And there's another squirrel. Squirrel to the right, squirrel to the left. And maybe I just skipped over it because it was that easy yesterday. You know, it was just a feeling, but I had plenty of other thoughts, and this was just sort of something that I put aside. But, you know, again, it was just basically them just creating their own position and calling it good. And I think maybe I was judging their character a little bit right there, just because it was like this guy who just was only doing all of these things that were basically intellectual, but we see nothing about any other types of feats or challenges that the individual ever made or anything like that. And I think I made some passing judgment on a character there for a little bit, and, you know, kind of felt like maybe this character is a little bit privileged. You know, it's like it's that whole idea that everybody always likes to tout about in life, and it's being born into sort of privilege, you know what I mean? And that whole idea of like perpetuating a system of itself that states that it is the best, you know, kind of thing. And I think I sort of had all those questions as to just, you know, that I kind of went over yesterday, a lot of the same ones, like it's right there. The kid in me. Maybe. So maybe I have changed. I can sort of let things be. Was it chance that it came about? Or was it again just fate? Which one makes it better? And I think it was that they wanted to do something so simple, maybe. That's honestly what I think it might have been. A lot of it, I think, was just like, you guys are making this harder than it needs to be. It's like right there before your eyes, you know, kind of thing. Like, is that really what a Greek is? Is just a philosopher? And is a philosopher's only real incentive to say something? Is that all it is? Just like Alexander trying to go to war. Is he just going out and in the yard to work? All you guys wanting to discover the secrets of the universe. I got it. Are you just drawing blanks? Is that what it means to be Greek? To see your own end? To see how maybe special you felt as a child? as to being itself seeming like there was a great energy. But when you finally had the energy to go there, all everything really did was chalk it up to distance or time. They forgot all the words. Every word said along the way. It is words that can make distance seem even scary. So is that all you're doing? Creating blanks? Is that what it means to be Greek, is to be blank? What does it mean to be a warrior? Can things be one thing and another thing? Can things be things and other things? What is it like to be one thing? Maybe if you think you're a know-it-all, you're actually a lot more blank than you think. Anyways, no personal attacks on anybody or anything. I think more than anything, I was just trying to see the square. You know what I mean? Like see the cube of marble. Almost like I could basically appreciate that for just almost the idea of it being something that such great moments can't be centered around. Just with so much potential. It's like paper manifest into some three-dimensional form. You know, and I know I actually left a lot up there. And I almost sort of serendipitously made my final statement there with a double edge, you know, with the blank being blank, but it could also be blank. So, you know, but I almost feel like I could really just say a few other things right now that's just like, do you really want to be that stupid? You know what I mean? Like, you do enough stupid things, you're going to end up questioning everything that's not automatic, is something that I've been telling myself lately. So for anybody that wants to, you know, hear that for thinking that they're doing stupid things, like, wise up. All right. And maybe I can listen to myself there for a little bit too, you know? But then, you know, I could sort of go on and embellish it a little bit and just be like, you know, am I really that stupid? Or is it just like how people use the word gay? I think people use the word gay in so many ways that it's almost just like saying something or attributing something to something that you basically can't understand, so you just call it gay. If I was to say what a much more appropriate almost definition or just universal colloquialism that I've come to understand of the word itself. Like, and it has a range. Like, it has a range from like being high to low. So you almost can't use other sort of like derogatory remarks that are based off of a certain height. It's like maybe it's a much more variety. I think it's like completely going around. And this leads me back to my whole thing I had the other day of trying to get a whole grip kind of thing, right? Of everything. But I actually came to the conclusion without looking at anything, and it was that as soon as I get you imagining the ball, then the ball's actually rolling. And that's how you get pi to infinity. Which basically means that the point on a sphere this is some very complicated mathematics. Probably say something like this. The point on a sphere is only apparent when pi is infinite point when a sphere is only apparent requires infinite. Which means that the ball is moving. Which I could probably then go to say that any sphere will say that there's only one point, but it obviously doesn't know the point if it's not going around. Which then leads to whether or not the point itself is actually imaginary or real. By which point every sphere is a curve, not knowing if it will ever really go around. which means that every point knows not what it is. By which, though, could we say that anything that's anything eventually goes around? Meaning everything will eventually come around. Then could we not say that we have a round blank now? If it knows everything. So then which one has emotion? Which one is true? One definitely seemed more mathematical to begin with, but it ended with consideration to everything. And the other ended fairly symmetrical. But it begins with the idea of there being something beyond your control. And the irony is that the square is what originally began as what was questioning fate or chance, ironically, both out of your control. And the sphere, seemingly a thing which is certainly used to represent chaos more than a square, began with our calculation of pi before it got out of control. And it left us with a question. Does everything eventually end up going around? As we left, wondering if we'd ever come back. Certainly positions we can take as we are a thing which is able to express fantasy and reality. Do we really have value elsewhere? Do people play the same games that we do? Is mathematics actually true? If other people haven't discovered these things, are they true? Or not? Or is it only us? Us Greeks. And if it is only us, then do we really only value ourselves? Meaning that, do we really have any value elsewhere? Just for the record, I'm like basically the ultimate mix of all races is what you turn out as. I don't know what is Greek, what is Jewish even, but I don't know if I'm Greek unless maybe I'm given the chance to philosophize about it. Anyways.